Okay, Shelter FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. Plenty of footy going on this weekend. Skeeter's worked 17 games, but he's made some time for us in his busy schedule. Skeeter, how are you, mate?
Oh, good, yeah. No, I'm just all these number jumpers.
How many games did you call on?
I did.
Thursday?
No, I didn't do Thursday. I was in Albany for the Albany Sports Person of the Year Awards. Which was, you can laugh.
Sorry,
it was good.
I'm sure it was.
It was bloody, except for the plane trip back. Oh, my God. And Rex did nothing. You know the light planes. And it was, you might not recall this, Friday, it was blowing.
You hate that. Well, I mean,
what most people did.
Zeb took us up in the light plane for shelter.
That was not great either. But this was 15 of us on a plane, and it was just rocking and rolling. And this lady behind me apparently vomited, and it was like, and I'm going, just get this down. You know, it's like when it's really windy. It was windy Friday. I'm thinking,
you're not a very religious man, but there's a couple.
I'm a Catholic. No, I pray every day for you because you need some salvation at times.
Oh, I pray for the Eagles. I pray for you.
I did a lot of footy games. I did Saturday night waffle, did 2 games Sunday, and now we just about...
2 Sunday?
I had to go from 6PR to Channel 7. Oh, yeah, working a treat. And got home last night, watched maths with the girls and went to bed.
I tune in, so I took Sid to the footy, who has been to... with me, 6 games, all of them Freo. He's pretty close to a Freo fan.
He has to be, wouldn't he?
Yeah, like he loves Luke Jackson, and there's not much I can do about it, really. Like,
what? Well, I
couldn't care less.
No, it's you know what, and you know what, it doesn't matter what you say. If for instance, being an ex-West Coast Eagle, and now they're not travelling well at all.
Yeah.
Kids follow teams that are successful as well. So you're going to see all these Brisbane Lions supporters or Hawthorn. There'll be a lot of Hawks kids even in Perth, they're thinking, oh, the Wizard. And
I can't imagine too many kids who are going to enjoy West Coast going about how they are at the moment. We'll get into that in a little bit, Skeeter. Shelter FootyCast on socials. If you've just joined us, make sure you follow us across over there. FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au is our email. Skeeter, I've got something for you off the top. Just remember, Shelter, one of the best in the business, making beers here in Western Australia. It's time to drink something red. You're a red wine drinker?
Yeah, a mate of mine, Sacco's got me onto Pinot, and I quite like that, yes.
Oh, that's good, because this is nothing to do with red wine. Shelter Brewing's fan favourite. Just remember, Shelter is a beer company, Skeeter. Fan favourite, the Red Ale, is making its comeback into cans for autumn and winter this Friday. Bought some friends along this year. Theme is there's a limited edition Red Rye IPA. Before I tell you what that is, can you tell me what you think that is, mate? Rennies? Red Rye IPA. Just give me.
I don't know.
When do you drink it? What's the sort of? Give me some, aromas. What do you think it is?
I'm thinking of like just beetroot juice. I can't think of anything. I've no idea. I'm not a beer aficionado.
Beetroot juice.
That's the sort of colour I'm thinking.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you and assure you it is not beetroot juice. Cold weather luxury in a can, available on tap at Shelter and in a can at limited bottle shops online and brewery from Friday. That's right. And for those that really love a decadent drop, is that right?
Yeah, that sounds good.
There's a keg-only whiskey red ale release, only available at Shelter. This triple red drop kicks off with a brewer's shout at Shelter this Friday. So if you're down in the southwest, you know where you need to go. This Friday, Arvo, head down to Shelter, right down there by the big jetty, and Skeeter will shout you a couple of beers.
It's all there, carte blanche, just there to enjoy.
Can you give me another French descriptive, maybe? Like, can you just give, it's not...
Je suis là.
What?
Look that up, Jay Swimala. You just do your research, and we'll see where that lands. That's how I feel sitting next to you at times.
Very good, Skeeter. I absolutely love it. That's good from you. All right, just a red ale, not beetroot juice. That's what you drink when you're playing footy, Skeeter. Okay, make sure you get some of that into you. Let's get into the big issues of the round, Skeeter. Look, there was quite a few. Shock, some of them Tribunal related. Would you like me to start at the Tribunal? Would you like me to start with umpires?
I think the umpiring, I know you love the Tribunal, but I think the umpiring is a story that was definitive in probably one game. Yep, for sure.
So watch this one throughout. Was a ripping game. 2 of the best sides going at it. But it wasn't the shootout that maybe we thought or predicted. This was the Crows versus the Suns. It's not called Metricon. People First Stadium now. Well, I was going to ask, were the Crows robbed? Well, they were. The AFL has come out in pretty unprecedented action and come out and confirmed that they should have, one, paid the mark to Isaac Rankin at the end of the game, and two, if they didn't pay that, they should have paid the free kick by Sam Collins.
Yeah.
And they've come out and admitted it.
They have. And that has happened before. And to be totally honest with you, if you look at the Crows, they have had a pretty bad run in tight matches going back over the space of a couple of years.
Old mate Draper lying on the footy.
Jordan Dawson should have got a free kick, I think, at the MCG against Collingwood.
The point late for Sydney to miss
Ben
finals.
Keys. Yeah, they've had a handful of no wonder they've written a letter to the AFL. I tipped the Suns. I think it's great that they have a good start to the season, but you'd have to suggest that, and having had a look at the replay, I'll be honest, they're saying it was the game of the season. Now, I was down...
No, it was very good.
At East Fremantle doing some work there. I didn't see much of the game, but I did look at that definitive last moment, or that free kick that wasn't paid, or the mark that wasn't paid. The mark, I can half see that wasn't paid, but the free kick, there was a hold. There was clearly a hold in there, in my opinion. So it was a Rankin ball either way, and they should have, at the very least, you would have thought, drawn the match.
The problem I have with it, Skeeter, is less about the game and it was robbed. I was just trying to find, while I was chatting, the letter from, was it the CEO or the chairman? It basically said the apology does nothing for our fans, our supporters, our players, our staff, and we're pretty much sick of it. That's pretty much what Adelaide came out and said off the back of it.
But it's not just a one-off case. Like I said, there's been a litany of these stories. So I do have empathy for the Crows and where they're going, what they're going through. I suppose you have to show a bit of restraint because you don't want to be just completely slamming the umpires, but you have to make it known that this has been a recurring theme for them in certain games, and the free kick tally there was lopsided. It's a fact.
So look, I scream for sort of honesty and openness and all of that, Skate, and we've kind of got it here from the AFL and umpires. But is it a good thing to be picking and choosing what free kicks they come out and say they got wrong and what they don't? Because, okay, this particular umpiring decision could have had a big impact just given it was a close game. But what if that same decision was in the GWS West Coast game? We don't hear a thing about it. And we just move on, and it's a mistake. So
public demand, I think. I mean, there's the public interest in it. And this is a thought bubble which probably will never get off the ground. But you talk about being transparent. We have the two coaches at the end of a game sit down with the media and chat. Is it a case? Wayne Campbell used to do it as the head of the umpiring going back a few years ago. Do you have umpires or representative speak after a match to either clarify some rules? That's an option. I don't think the AFL would like to go down that path on a number of fronts.
Well, the fear is that it breeds the ability to criticise umpires. If done in the right way, doesn't it just breed normalise that mistakes are made? And we stuff that up, but
a bit of clarity maybe. And I think once you actually speak to an umpire, and I've spoken to Dean Margetts as you have, and get the reasons behind it, and you know what? If you ask the media, and we're in that category, if you asked us, have you read the rule books? Do you know the laws? We know nothing really.
Well, I don't know about that. I reckon I know most rules, and it does my head in that some players don't.
I don't think people know the rules.
I'll tell you. Well, some players don't. I'll tell you one that grinds my gears, and we've got to get this segment up on Shelter FootyCast. Players that take advantage after a mark is paid. So you just a quick memo to AFL players, you can't take advantage after a mark.
Yeah, free kick you can.
Yes, free kick you can. So a mark will be paid, and players.
That's what I know.
But to be fair, been going for 20 years.
To be fair, sometimes the players aren't aware that it isn't a mark, or but you're right. There are certainly occasions where they go, "What? Why can't I?"
It does my head in. Anyway, look, I think that.
Umpiring decisions will always be, and late in games will always be.
That's, I guess, my point. Yeah.
I don't think it's going to change, but unfortunately, there is one club, and Adelaide at the moment have been hit by it more often than not.
All right, I'm going to the Tribunal, Skater. You can't keep me away from it for too long. Dan Houston, the first on the agenda here. He has been banned 2 weeks for his bump on Lockie Fogarty. This was on Thursday night.
You were very vocal on social media.
Well, I said a comment. I wasn't very vocal. I said...
Definitive, you were.
I said, deserves weeks, suspend the action, not the outcome. Now, Lockie Fogarty didn't break his jaw. He stayed out there. He was assessed and then played on. So the outcome, not that bad, right?
So,
and it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
The action was horrific. It was jumping off the ground, 2 feet up, eyes on the man, elbow to the face. It's about as bad of an action as we can see. So we saw this like last year in the preseason against Jai Simpkin, like Webster from St Kilda, beelining, jumping off the ground, shoulder to the face. Got like 8 weeks. But because of the outcome here for Dan Houston, 2 weeks, I'm glad it wasn't 1. 2 weeks is very bare minimum with this one, Skate. If you want this out of the game, suspend him for more weeks because it's a terrible action.
Can I just ask you a quick question? This is a hypothetical. Say if you're running in one direction, I'm running the other.
I shirt front you, I'm happy as Larry.
Of course you are, because you're that sort of person. I throw an elbow out to try and collect you, okay? Which is a dog act, basically. I don't make contact with you at all.
Yes.
What do you do as the MRO in that circumstance?
So this is the thing. This is like Jesse Hogan.
I don't make contact with you.
I know. This is like Jesse Hogan in the goal square last year, trying to punch someone, and he missed them and he got 0 weeks.
So what do you get?
You should get weeks for being a dog. No, for the action, Skate. And
no, just ask
you can't get 5 weeks for missing me. I know. But you should be trying to suspend that player for 1 or 2 weeks. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. If it's a centimetre away from being a 10-week, because if you make contact, you break my nose.
Yeah, of course.
Right? I think we should be suspending that. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I think that's how you get this out of the game, that you suspend the action. So 2 weeks minimum. Minimum they could have given. I hope it's not challenged. It was a terrible action, deserves weeks. We go to Geelong, Melbourne, Friday night. And because there's a little bit of a run through the media on this one, Bailey Fritsch fined for tunnelling Tom Stewart. Terrible action, Riley says, because it's against a Geelong player. Right, more dangerous than Mansell. So Mansell was the week before, got 3 weeks. Outcome, right? So Mansell got 3 weeks before for pushing his player into.
Oh, yes.
So Bailey Fritsch, if we're suspending the action, this has real possibility for Tom Stewart to land on his head, but doesn't. Gets lucky.
You can speak better to this.
Suspend the action. This should have been at least a week.
But the tunnelling, now, there are obvious cases of tunnelling, and there are some that look like they're in that category. It is a fine line. This is why I do have empathy for players here at times in how this either plays out or looks, because do players actually intentionally tunnel others?
If you compare Bailey Fritsch and Toby Green from yesterday, Bailey Fritsch deliberately tunnelled Tom Stewart.
Tom Green didn't.
Toby Green did not. No. Toby Green, until the very last second where he realised he was in a shocking position and covered up, like he was just competing. He was coming back into a leading lane to basically try to spoil the ball, and then looked around and was going to get smashed.
I just think that was an unfortunate footy.
That shouldn't be touched. That's not a bad action.
No.
Bailey Fritsch, no one on him. Tom Stewart's going to mark the ball, and he literally barrels his hips and knees. That's a terrible action. Like, he should get weeks. I'm just going to keep setting this agenda, Skate. Ban the action.
Are you an agenda setter?
The agenda setters with Mark Reddies and Will Scoville. No idea what's going on, but we'll say what we like anyway. So there we go, Skate. That's the tribunal.
That's done, yeah. The tribunals and the umpires, I know we have to lean into that from time to time.
Oh, the umpiring, sorry, a lot of Freo fans on here. The umpiring yesterday, I watched that live in the stands with my son Sid. That was just shocking umpiring. The Optus Stadium was melting down. I was up with the commoners, right, up on level 5. You would never, it's above the corporate suites, up the top.
But there's a spot above there. You idiot.
So I was up there, and people were going bananas in the third quarter.
So I was calling the game.
I don't know when you had the window shut. You wouldn't have been able to hear.
Oh no, trust me, we could hear. But some of the angst was justified. Some of it was just plain wrong.
But there was how it goes. It builds up and builds up.
But there was like an insufficient intent against, I think, Murphy Reid, I think. They're going berserk. It was clearly a free kick. I mean, there were
but it was the build-up, Skate, and that's what happens with crowds. But it was set by about four free kicks in a row missed. Freo just didn't get a free. They just put the whistles away. So, yeah, I thought it was really inconsistent, especially through the third quarter. And you get to the back end of the game, and it's a 15 free kick differential to the Western Bulldogs, which I found really strange.
Yeah, again, there have been those differentials. I think Bulldogs Collingwood was the other way around.
Yeah, and they lost. So let me tell you, if Freo ended up losing this game after having a couple of players, there would have been people going, like the umpires would have struggled to get off the ground. They would have. No, I've seen that down at the Cattery back in the day where people are hanging over the edge. And, mate, they impacted the game. That's all you want to see, a non-impact. You don't want to have to talk about umpires and Skeeter. You do a good job at defending them, but I thought
not defending.
it's good.
It didn't influence the result yesterday. I don't think. That's just my opinion. I was there calling, and you had a different set of eyes on it because you were maybe a bit more relaxed a bit. No,
I had the chips and the chicken nuggets and a beer.
Get a shelter in between.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm trying to patsy it and make sure he's enjoying himself.
It's the old story. What do you want? You want some ice cream?
Yeah, 2 ice creams and back of a chair. Just let me watch the footy. All right, Skeet. Before we move on, and we will talk about the West Coast game, but I think it's big enough to chuck to the top of the show here. West Coast's decision to drop Harry Edwards.
I still don't understand it.
So, did we know this Thursday? We didn't know this Thursday when we spoke here on the Shelter FootyCast. I don't think.
No, but he had been subbed
out Friday.
He had been subbed out the week before.
Right, so yeah.
So it begs a question. Now, I'm sure this is legitimately just a form or matchup issue. I'm assuming he's not injured. So let's just put that out there. He's not injured. Given there's no McGovern, they're so light on key defenders. Sandy Brock essentially just thrown to the wolves in that sense. And the poor kid, he's undersized, and it just, Stephen Silvani would have, as I think the coach said, would have struggled to stop Jesse yesterday. I still don't understand if he's going to be a key back for the club moving forward, why he wasn't playing. You must be able to explain it to me.
Well, I'll be stronger than that, Skeet. Like that by West Coast from a coaching point of view, and I don't want to hang Minnie McWalter out to dry, but you did it to your fullback, so you probably deserve it. How you go and put a debutant on the Coleman medalist? Like, this isn't someone that's playing for a good side that's pretty good, and hopefully we're able to put enough pressure through the midfield, which is the bullshit that gets rolled out in the press conference. Oh, we didn't put enough pressure on. What do you think was going to happen? I threw a few texts around before this game to a couple of people that would know. I said, I reckon GWS's key forwards are going to kick 20 goals, and they did.
But that was a logical conclusion given the team they had.
Why would you put a debutant on the Coleman medalist from last year, playing in the best side in the competition? Clearly, his first game. Now, I've had goals kicked on me as a fullback, Skate, and you don't forget the big bags. And yes, you learn something from it, but in your first game to cop that, I just thought that was terrible coaching by West Coast to not, make a statement, do whatever you like with Harry Edwards, put him out the front, do a stop-start, continue, tell him he needs to spoil the ball more, protect your young players. How's Sandy Brock going to learn anything out of that? For what it's worth, I thought Sandy Brock was pretty good at stages, and I agree with the coach, and I agree with some of the players after the game. Sandy Brock actually looked like he was at home a little bit. But you still have 9 goals kicked on you.
And that means what happens to him and his confidence. I don't care what you say, and the encouragement you give him, coming up off the back of that, he's going to Adelaide now to try and... you're right, first up, I thought it was bizarre. And I can't work out... If you tell me, who are the key defensive players at the Eagles? McGovern is clearly number 1 by a margin. Yep. Who's the number 2?
Harry Edwards.
Okay, who's number 3?
Jinby. Because he's just like, and that's because he's tall enough. And then you got Bazzo.
And so bear in mind, and we knew this, Hogan, Cadman, Riccardi as a possibility. Yeah. All these options.
Callum Brown came in.
And Callum Brown. I'm seriously, Scott, I just cannot work it out why he, was subbed the week before, and then to be left out of that team, and it wouldn't, they would have still won by plenty, but I just can't work out the logic behind it.
I've just said it so many times. Play Sandy Brock, but play him alongside Harry Edwards and let Harry Edwards cop it. And if you want to teach Harry Edwards a lesson, playing him on Jesse Hogan, you'd teach him a pretty quick lesson. And if he did have 9 kicked on him, at least Harry Edwards has had his crack and he's had the opportunity at AFL level and he's learnt enough to know better. Sandy Brock doesn't know what he's doing out there, right? So this isn't about Sandy Brock whatsoever. And like I said, I think he was actually pretty good, but he'll never forget that. And in a way that's good. Like I had 10 kicked on me by Rewald. I had 8 kicked on me by Lance Franklin. I'll never forget those moments in games. You're smirking a little bit.
No, I'm actually thinking the Eagles have had if you think of some of the big hauls in the last 3 years, whether it's Tex, whether it's Charlie Curnow, now Hogan, they've had some big numbers.
You learn a lot as a player, but you can't have that in your first game. You literally
it's unfair.
And there was no other result that was going to happen. So they're either kidding themselves at match committee, thinking that it was going to look different, like thinking that they're going to put enough pressure on through the midfield. Like they're either delusional with where this club's at, or they were hanging him out to dry. There's no other actual defence for it. So I just thought it was so poor by the West Coast Eagles. And I hope Sandy Brock plays most games this year. I hope he gets an opportunity. If he gets dropped in the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's a disgrace. There you go, Skate. Do you want me to stay on the West Coast game and go back to Freo?
I think,
let's stay on the West Coast game. GWS defeat West Coast by 81 points at NG Stadium. Should have been 150. I'm not sure how 81 points was kept to what this was. I watched all but about 5 minutes of this game, which was like absolute torture, but I wanted to watch it. I wanted to see what was going on. From the first bounce of this game, there was such a clear difference. And I heard the word used in quality from Andrew McWalter again in the press conference. Like the difference in fundamental skill level, and I don't know if you call it fitness, but running ability. Like by the eye watching these two teams, it was like they were polar opposites. Now the Liam Duggan clip with Jones has been pointed out, but from the first bounce, as soon as the ball left the contest, so you think about centre bounce or a stoppage or a stop bit of play, as soon as that went 1 metre outside the contest, it was like I say it all the time, a bomb went off, but West Coast was stuck when the bomb went, and GWS would just run and do whatever they felt like. There was such a big difference between these two sides, and yeah, I'm not sure where West Coast are at all.
And the problem is, I think we understand they're going to get some games into Tom Gross and
who
look good, who look really impressive, and he has to, providing he's healthy, has to stay in there and get some footy into him. Some of these young kids coming through, whether it's Brock, but it's more. I'm more concerned about some of their senior players and where they are at with their footy at the moment. And I guess Tim Kelly again comes to the forefront with what he's producing.
I mean, he was tagged,
but irrespective, his output is not great. Tommy Cole didn't have a touch up until half time. Yeah, they have got some senior players that unfortunately aren't playing anywhere near their best. But the problem is, you damned if you drop them back to the waffle, and damned if you leave them there and they don't find a way through it. Yeah, bear in mind the Giants. Let's be honest.
Well, they're the best, close to the best.
Yeah, they're close to the best. But have a look at their list, and I don't have the numbers in front of me. But they've had some fairly good draft selections in that area. So, but you're right. Physically, it looked like just Tom Green, for instance, just what he can do. Callahan, their midfield just looks awesome. So we knew they were never going to win the Eagles, but it was, having called the game, there was just periods of play. Maybe it was at the start of the second quarter. They didn't touch the ball for about 5 minutes.
Yeah. So this is why you don't want to beat a dead horse, right? But flog a dead horse. But I would say within match committee and within review sessions, you just can't you can't accept not having a touch because it's contested ball. You can be better than the other side, and you can be in another class, but contested ball is just a one-on-one opportunity. Like GWS aren't that much stronger and that much better structurally that it causes you not to have a touch.
But their contested footy numbers yesterday weren't horrendous. Uncontested though, 285, 167. So they just couldn't get their hands on the footy once it left that as you said, once the bomb went off, and they were not like cement boots.
Yeah, but we've seen that a few times this year. So is that experience? Is that I don't know, the way they're travelling? Who knows? Oscar Allen well held again, but he was playing on Sam Taylor, Jack Buckley.
If you're trying to get yourself out of form or back into form, that was not the ideal situation.
I'll give you some positives. How about that? All right, Jack Williams, yes. Archer Reid.
Archer Reid, Jack Williams. I think you've got to almost put the flag in the ground and say, boys, providing you're not flat as a tackle, you're suffering, we just got to get some more games into those guys as a forward combination. We know Waterman will return, etc. But they're two guys you just got to give some more minutes to.
I actually think Bailey Williams looks like he's trying his guts out. Like I think
he always has.
Yeah, I reckon you'd be happy with him in the ruck at the moment.
Yeah, he's not. To be fair to him,
he's undersized.
He's on a ruck.
Yeah, no.
Or a genuine ruck.
I think Tyrell Dewar is an absolute keeper, and I think that he should continue to be played on a wing and just let him run. And he just, when he gets the ball, like if I'm talking about this differential in quality, like he looks like someone who has something different in it. Tom Gross, like I really liked his game. Like I really thought he looks by the eye good. Do you know what I mean? Like you can tell very quickly if players have got it or they don't.
Yeah,
seriously.
And that was their midfield is they've got holes like Swiss cheese at the moment, the Eagles, but their midfield is an area until Elliot Yeo comes back. If this young bloke can spend some minutes in there, find his way through. And I think you mentioned a few names there. Probably worth giving the attention he always gets, but I thought Harley was a lot better yesterday.
Yeah, 25 touches. He went at 86% by foot. He had 6 inside 50s. I think he looks better there. West Coast have the issue of, we can't touch the ball in the middle of the ground. So they're like, Harley Reid's a contested ball winner in there. So they got him in and out of there. I agree. I thought he was probably close to their best player. Yeah, we'll see how that continues to move because you've got to be fit to play in his position too, and he still doesn't look fit.
No, that's true. Now, whether that's because of disrupted pre-season, but they're some of the positives, and they still get beaten by 80 points. As I said, I thought their first win might come against the Bombers a few weeks from now. My confidence is waning a fraction, and you've been pretty strong on the fact that they're going to win less than, 5 games?
I said 3. I had the 3.5 was their line, and I was laughed at by a lot. So how's that going? GWS, they're elite. The fundamental skill difference, which is something you can control, hitting handballs, hitting their kicks, clean ground balls. GWS are elite across the board at that. And Jesse Hogan kicks 9, gave one off for his 10th, basically.
In fact, he wanted to give one off to Stringer earlier in the game.
Yeah, I thought that was almost laughable. I was like, calm down, Jake. The package was lurking around looking for one. Look, they were every bit of outstanding. So Hogan kicks 9. Toby Green looked very good with 25 touches and 3.
I mean, you look at Darcy Jones, who I remember when he was drafted, clubs shied away from him because of his size, all of the above, and it's happened with the Wizard. Like people going, what? If they've got skill, they've got speed. It's a pretty good combination, and Darcy Jones has got all that. I'll tell you what, there'd be a few clubs that would have loved to have had their time again with Darcy Jones.
Yeah, well, he's what the modern football requires now, which is taking the game on and run. Like that's Carlton and Melbourne.
Carlton love him.
Yeah, man. Like they're like Carlton and Melbourne. These sides that want to play this Taoist game. It's moved like too quickly. We both picked GWS, I'm assuming. Freo. My wife got 8 out of 8 this week, actually. Which is
she's got the Saints, obviously.
Yeah, she did. She did the favourites plus the upset. So
how are you going with your upsets?
I forgot to put Friday night tips in. So
I thought you picked North Melbourne. That was my gut feel.
Yeah. I can't remember.
I can. It was North Melbourne.
Yeah, wasn't it if Cherry played? That's right. If Cherry
did he play?
Yeah, he played.
Bad luck.
I got 6, and I'm moving down the rankings. So I owe more money.
Tragic.
I will get the winner of the tips, by the way. I'll find that in just a moment. Freo defeat Western Bulldogs by 16 at Optus Stadium. Sam Darcy unstoppable, but the Freo Dockers get the job done in what they'll look back on as a really gritty win given their injuries and their rotations they had in the last quarter. Caleb Strong didn't come off in that last quarter. I thought a really good win by the Freo Dockers.
Yeah, courageous win. And look, you can look at from both sides really because the numbers that the inside 50s were just, if you go, 63 to 44, yeah, Dockers win by 15 or 16 points, that's about right. No, the Dogs, they trailed at quarter time, yet they had so much impetus and momentum, so much ball inside 50. You mentioned Sam Darcy. He just will expand on him. But everything pointed to them being in front through a lot of the metrics of the day. But what they didn't do, they turned the ball over, and the term trampolining for the Dockers at half back, they managed to, on the counter, produce some really good footy. And I've got to say, the first quarter yesterday, 8 goals kicked, I think it was probably the best quarter I've seen at Optus this season by a fair way. It was actually a good game of footy.
Well, because half the games you've seen have been West Coast. That's
probably right.
But yeah, it was pretty open, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was open. I thought the skill levels were pretty good. You're right, Sarong was quite early, but he was able to work his way into the game. And look, I thought, the last quarter, if we're going to go down to where this was won by Fremantle, it was a big effort because Driscoll went down, Jackson no good, which is a concern for the next couple of weeks.
And they'd made their sub.
Exactly. They were hanging on, there's no question. And the issue they had was trying to put the clamps on Darcy, who was just enormous. 5 goals. He's the most valuable commodity in the AFL, I would have think now, for the next 5 to 10 years. Am I on the money?
Yeah, well, no one could stop him. So they started Pearce on him. He was moved within 2 marks and 2 goals. Just moved him straight away. Cox went to him. Wasn't big enough.
Draper.
And they put Draper on him. Draper probably spent the most time on him. I was watching him really carefully because I've been banging on about how to play him. Alex Pearce played him how I would have, off the front shoulder, and he had 2 marks over the back, right? Because he's so tall. Yeah. Cox was playing him from behind and sort of late running and jumping him. And Draper was actually the most physical out of the 3.
I thought he did the best job.
Yeah. It actually surprised me a bit because I think about those 3 and I think, well, Alex Pearce would be the most physical, but he wasn't. Look, I mean, I just had a couple of quiet, casual beers with some Western Bulldogs people. You can do your own research as to who they would be the day before the game back here in Western Australia. I was winding them up saying, Sam Darcy is just a bit better Mason Cox. Like, he's just the same sort of player. And they weren't happy with that. And within the first quarter, I was thinking, now he's thinking about this.
Schofield's a dick.
Well, okay, so, Sam Darcy, incredible. 21 touches, 11 marks, 5 goals, 2 hit-outs. His ground skills are amazing. All I would say is, and this has gone out of the game in general, I think almost too much respect has been paid to Sam Darcy. Freo and everyone else need to get a bit dirty with him. Like, this is a young player. This is someone that hasn't been in the league for 10 years.
How do you do that?
Mate, you've got to be so physical on and off the ball.
Problem is, given the rules, and you know that it's changing.
Yeah, but you can be physical, mate. You can be annoying. Like, I think you got to put someone on him that just wants to get his mind off the game. And you might think what you like there and say, it's a bit dirty tactics. Well, I think you need to be a bit dirty against him. He's a young player. I think you need to be verbal. I think you need to be physical. I watch him kick a goal and he sort of just walk around, and Freo players would, no one would touch him. Walking back to the centre bounce, just give him a clip. Like, he's a young player, mate. Like, get into it. I would get into him.
You want a tall Tom Papley to play on him, that type of...
Yeah. I just think he's clearly too good to just give him the respect he deserves. Well, he's just going to kick 5 and have 20.
Yeah, and to be fair, look, a lot of those possessions and goals were pretty difficult to defend against.
I don't know how many contested marks he took, but it was unbelievable. Like, he was crazy.
He was just...
Caleb Sarong, talking about good, like you said, he worked into... Mate, he was unbelievable. Caleb Sarong. So he didn't come off in the last quarter, which is incredible for an inside midfielder. But he had 15 clearances, 38 touches. But the work he does in a 10-metre radius of the footy, like his stoppage and clearance, and even just contest work, is close to the best in the comp. Like, he was just unbelievable. It allows Andy Brayshaw, again, it was good being at the footy without having to work. Like, I was watching his running patterns. He runs a middle running pattern, so he sort of... He doesn't... It's actually reminded me of Michael Barlow. Michael Barlow used to do the same. He sort of tracks this sort of middle of the ground sort of thing, and when there's a contest, he gets to it, but then he sort of holds his balance in the middle of the ground. Having Caleb Sarong in the side allows him to do that. And adding Hayden Young back in, he'll continue to do that. Hayden Young will be the attacker. It'll be really interesting to see what their midfield mix is. Not being too critical on a younger player, but Matt Johnson needs to go back to the waffle. His skills aren't good enough to play at the AFL, and I've been critical of him in the past. But his fundamental skill level isn't good enough. He's too many handballs, can't kick when running in the open. Like, he needs to He needs to work on his fundamental skills, and he'll be a good player.
Been getting a bit of the footy this year, that's the first part of the assignment. You're right, though.
Hayden Young comes back in for him.
He's a one and done in the waffle for Hayden Young. 3 goals, 19 disposals. Played predominantly forward, I believe, for Peel at the weekend, but he's straight back. In brief, Sarong, by the way, I think only had 3 touches up to quarter time, so he absolutely turned that game around. Got on his bike possession-wise. I'm not sure, given Luke Jackson, I'd be staggered if he plays this week.
He's done his hammy, hasn't he?
Yeah, it's a hammy.
I heard Justin Longmuir say it's not a serious one. If you've done your hammy,
you've done your hammy. 2 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever the case.
It's 3 weeks, 21 days.
Yeah, exactly.
21 days.
So, but
they won't be bringing Luke Jackson back off 2 weeks. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, but
unless he hasn't done it.
The question is, are they going to bring? I think Reedy probably does come back.
Yep. With Sean Darcy.
Well, no, I don't know if Darcy's ready to. Again, I haven't seen much vision of him.
I think Longmuir said they're going to play him.
They'll play.
He said he's going to play him.
They know more than us, which is. But yeah, if that's the case, then Darcy, Jackson,
I agree with you, by the way.
What?
I don't know if I'd bring Sean Darcy back off a 6-month layoff
and one game.
Yeah,
and you've got. You've seen how he moves, and you've spoken to him recently. I'd be loath. I mean, this is no disrespect to Richmond. They've got Nank, who's a gun ruckman as well. But I don't know whether I'd be pushing him straight back this week. I would either trust Reedy to come back and do a job for a week, give Darcy another run in the waffle. Anyway, that's something that I can discuss on Thursday.
Nathan O'Driscoll is a big injury for them. He's been one of their better players to start the year. They've loved him on the wing. So if he is out for any time with that ankle, it didn't look good when he came off.
The problem is, look, he's a real... You're right, he gives them so much, but I don't know how many games in a row he's played consecutively ever in his short career, but he does have a propensity to get injured, which, that's the nature of this sport.
Yeah, I like the win by Freo. I think they've got a lot of work to do still, though. Their game style has changed. Like last year, they were top 4 for uncontested marks in the competition. This year, they're bottom 4. So you can break it down a lot more, but that stat in itself says they're not controlling the footy as much. They're going fast, and they're trying to get it into their forwards more and give them more opportunity. So although they've changed, I think that's probably a good change.
Is it a positive that they're not controlling the footy as much?
Well, they're giving their forwards, which I think is a huge strength of theirs, in Tracy and Amos, and now they've added some younger, smaller, quicker types in Dudley and
Shea comes into the mix.
Shea Bolton, of course, what he's doing. So I think it's a good thing, but they've definitely changed the way they're playing. Like, we've seen enough footy now.
That was their best performance this year, comfortably in my eyes.
Yeah. So having Richmond next week's a positive.
They get Richmond, Melbourne at the G, Adelaide on Anzac Day. You'd be looking at winning minimum 2 out of those 3.
Adelaide's here, yes?
It is. Big game. But yeah, their season's now looking a little bit more stable.
All right, let's whip through these games. Skeeter, Collingwood defeat Carlton by 17 Thursday night. Carlton led at half-time for the 4th week in a row and then got done. So I wonder how Michael Voss thinks they're running out games. Is this a coaching or player issue, or both, or list, or structure? Or
I think it's a bit of a list. Absolutely. I think it is a bit of a list. I think we can see in what they're producing. It's become a theme now for them, and their goals just to kick 6 on a night where there was a bit of weather around as well. But that's just a constant in the first month of what we've seen from Carlton, and their second half. Even, I think it was Nick Dacos or one of those Collingwood stars said after, we knew. We've spoken about. We need to realise that Carlton will be hot early, but after half-time, they're very vulnerable. That's exactly how it played out.
Collingwood, very good. Lachie Schultz was best on ground in his best game for the Pies. He won the medal. There was a medal given out after this one. Yeah, there was a medal. Not sure which one, but he did win a medal. Okay. Dan Houston, done for 2 weeks. If they don't challenge that one, Skeety will have missed 7 of his last 10 games due to suspension, so he'll be filthy with that, absolutely filthy. Harry Mackay kicked 2 in the VFL, just out of interest. What it does do, Skeet is set up absolutely bottom of the barrel stuff at Adelaide. I'll be on the hill at Adelaide Oval for this one. Carlton and West Coast going at it. One of them teams will win, both 0 and 5. One team will walk away from gather round with a win, Skeet, unless it's a draw.
Yeah, well, it's certainly more pressure on Vossi than on McQualter, but West
Coast should win that. West Coast should win that.
You think they're going to win it?
West Coast could win that.
Nah. Well,
West Coast could win that game.
They could.
And if they do, Michael Voss give me a bloody world of hurt.
It will. I don't think West Coast have got the quality, to be honest. I think Carlton. I actually believe they're actually having a crack. I really believe they're trying, but they have got. Yeah. So their outside runs not great. They haven't. Their second halves, they're getting 2 goals just after half time. That's, I think, every match this year they've been in that same position. So Blues aren't playing finals in my eyes. That's a pretty obvious statement. And if they go down to the Eagles, then they will get absolutely restless in Lygon Street.
If it's Curnow and Mackay comes back to play Gather Round and Harry Edwards doesn't play, I'll spew up. I'll actually spew up.
Fair enough.
Geelong defeat Melbourne by 39 points at Kardinia Park. Melbourne looked really poor. They looked really bad. They sit on the bottom of the ladder or second bottom of the ladder now. 0 wins this season. Max Gawn and Christian Petrarca, 2 good players that we saw at the end of the game just looking absolutely filthy. Patrick Dangerfield hasn't lost it. Potentially, he's kicked 3 goals and 20 touches. I thought Geelong looked really good, but I thought at the same time Melbourne looked terrible.
Yeah, and Geelong played the game on their terms. You talked about your era of reach 100 marks, is that right?
Yep.
100 marks. They had 160.
Mate, it was
160.
They had 165.
160 plus. Yeah.
And it was 6 off the most marks ever taken in a game. It was
just, and whether Melbourne allowed them to or Geelong just were adept at controlling the ball, it clearly ended up frustrating Melbourne. And look, the game was, you could tell pretty early on that the Cats were going to win it. Danger he's an absolute giant of the game, isn't he? Being able to transition almost into a forward in these circumstances and lead from the front, and he just has that power. He doesn't do it as heard him on SCN on the weekend. He doesn't probably have that sustained ability for repeat efforts as he gets older, and that's natural, but he just has the nous and still like a bull. I saw a couple of contests, him and Oliver together. You would have thought one bloke was 23 and the other, you would have thought that the age difference was turned around.
Well, he's still got his power, doesn't he? That's what is good about him. I wonder, excuse me, I wonder how much they'll read into that one. I just think, Melbourne, to see Simon Goodwin pick the positives out of that one in the press conference, I just found that astounding. I thought they were so poor. And they'd be so disappointed with that as a whole. Skeeter and Melbourne,
can't kick a score.
Can't play final. They're not playing finals.
No, not playing finals. They were never playing finals this year, Scully. That was. I'm just being honest.
No, I got sucked in.
6 goals. They can't kick a score. They haven't been able to do all year. They need to get that part of their game. In fact, what they have to do, they've got some good young kids coming through, but it might be time. It might be time at the end of this year to say whether it's Petrarca, whether it's Viney, whether it's Oliver. I mean, Maxi's just trying his heart out, but he's doing so much ruck work. He's going to be cool.
Well, they should have tried Petrarca and Oliver last season when they both wanted to leave.
Yeah, well, that has passed, hasn't it? That ship has passed for the moment.
The ship is sailed, absolutely. But at least they love each other, Skeet, because they've done a lot of work on that. Now, Skeet, I'm pretty sure we're going to have to check the books on this one. I'm pretty sure Hamish said if anyone gets all the tips and picks the margin, he's giving them 5 slabs of shelter. So I can't confirm this or deny it, but there is 2 of our players this week to get 8 out of 8 with a 0 margin.
That's 0. So they picked the exact margin of the Thursday night game. Is that right?
We had 13 people pick 8 out of 8. One of them being my wife, but sucked in. Alex, you won't get the carton of shelters.
Sucked into your wife, the person who's just the mother of your children.
Chris K and Daniel W, both with 8 from 8 and a 0 margin. Callan B, very stiff, got 8 from 8, missed the margin by 1. So I think we'll do our best to get a carton out to each of Chris and Daniel because I can't split them.
Very generous of Hamish to be able to offer that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go and check what that is because he was running his mouth on BackChat. That's for sure. Okay, there we go. That's Geelong's done. Gold Coast defeat Adelaide by 1 point at People First Stadium. We've spoken about the controversial umpiring decision that cost the Crows, but this was a genuine, definitely finals contenders, but definite top 4 contenders bout at People's First Stadium.
I didn't see much of it, Sky, but they're saying one of the games of the year into round 4, but 2 teams that, look, by all accounts, you think given what we've seen so far, they're both going to be in September at some stage of the final. So last quarter, they had them on the back foot, the Suns, didn't they? They were just about home, led by 3 or 4 goals. Looked like a pretty comprehensive victory. But, yeah, to be fair to the Crows, they showed a hell of a lot. Dawson with 31 touches, outstanding as well. They're Thilthorpe, Fogarty and Tex taking a lot of marks. Thilthorpe with 5 goals.
They kicked 12 goals between them, those 3.
It's working, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is because they're getting the entries in for this one. So the big talking point out of this, though, Skeet, because it happened late in the game, it was 60 inside 50s to 53. So if you get it in 53 to 60 times, you're going to kick goals. But one item that came out of this wasn't the decision. So post that decision, Riley Thilthorpe gave a free kick away for holding in a contest.
Mac Andrew?
Mac Andrew gave it to him. Right, so you might have seen the highlights of this, but I watched this whole game. That it was a physical, highly contested game. So don't look at this and think this was a one-out incident. I'm sure they were at each other for the whole game. But Thilthorpe gave a free kick away late, and Mac Andrews let him know all about it. Now,
so how late in the game was we talking? Last
2
minute?
minutes.
Last 2 minutes.
Game was still on the line, absolutely. But Mac Andrew was like, I could see, you're dumb, he's saying, like in his face right away. Thilthorpe was filthy, smacking and punching him. And to me, that stuff is okay to a point, because it's just 2 guys going at it. And you got to understand how, there's a lot of tension out there. And if you've been at each other all game and you do something like that, it's likely that something's happened beforehand. So people wouldn't have seen that, would have been off camera.
100%. There would have been stuff said or done during the game.
So that happened though, right? And then they had 2 more entries where they were both one-on-one contests between those two. And Mac Andrews did him, right? He beat him. So that would have fired Thilthorpe even more. One of the contests, he got him high in the head, so they were punching on and then the siren goes. So they're at each other.
After full time.
Well, the siren went, and they'd been at each other until the siren went. And then I'm just trying to explain where you're at as a player. You're effectively as far close to punching on as you can get. Yeah. Then the siren goes, and you know how big I am about once the siren goes, you're done. So I liked it up until the siren, but it would have been great for a teammate of Mac Andrews to get him out of there, and probably Thilthorpe as well, because they were just 2 bulls going at it. Siren goes, they've obviously shook hands, don't know what's exchanged there. Then they're fighting after the siren. Can't have that, Skate. Can't have that sort of stuff after the siren. So
after the full-time siren, half-time's fine.
No.
Quarter time, 3/4 time fine.
No, siren goes, you're done.
That happens every second week.
So you're happy with Mac Andrews getting a punch on it?
No. I'm saying you're talking about altercations happen after the game.
Ken Hinkley, your mate, your best friend Ken Hinkley.
Yeah, 20K.
About to get sacked, what?
He might get sacked, but he didn't deserve 20K.
Yeah, so should they fine Mac Andrews 20K?
I didn't see the incident.
Yeah, no, they were going at each other, and I don't think it's a great look post-siren. You just need a teammate, wrap the big fella up, walk him off.
Was he taunting him?
He was before the siren went. I don't know afterwards. Yeah. You don't know what's said out there.
Exactly.
I'm moved more to defend. It's
an emotional game.
Yeah, emotional.
I'd rather err towards. Yeah, you're right. As long as it doesn't get to the point where you.
They were scrapping post siren though, they were bluing so.
It happens, mate. They calm down. Did anyone get fined from melee or any report, MRA? So we'll wait and see. But no, a good game of footy, and the Suns. Well, if they, the year when Gary Ablett Jr. was flying and they were heading for their first ever finals campaign, did his shoulder. This now is the time when you feel, unless they completely butcher matches in Darwin and their home ground advantage, that they're going to be reaching September, which I know you did forecast.
Yes, thank you, Skate. I appreciate you just pointing that out. Brisbane defeat Richmond by 28 at the MCG. Probably not the run over that we thought this was going to be.
Now, it shows you, I haven't seen this goal yet. I haven't. Have you?
No.
The Ashcroft goal.
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
I saw it on social media. This is one of the goals of the year so far.
No,
anyway.
All right, so go and have a look at that.
I was on my way.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Well, apparently it's a great goal by Ashcroft at the G. Will Ashcroft. Anyway.
Shoulder FootyCast, where you come for all the big footy news from the weekend. I think I was taking Sid to the footy.
Yeah,
you were preparing
waffle.
You were doing waffle or something like that. So I didn't see any of this. I'm just going to move on. Do you want me to give you what I think about it? I don't know. Like, great job. Sam Lawler had 24 disposals and 2 goals.
They've broken a hoodoo Brisbane. First time they've beaten Richmond at the MCG since 2009.
Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, 15-game losing streak. But again...
Lachie Neale, 42 disposals, 8 clearances. You probably don't want to let him do that. You're probably not going to win games. There you go. Brisbane defeat Richmond. Sydney defeat North Melbourne by 65 at Marvel Stadium. I watched this one. North Melbourne. Does this just mean they're just not there? Like people.
This was the big game. Sydney without several star players. North Melbourne, bit of an aberration over in Adelaide.
Missing no one though.
Yeah, well, they were almost full strength. Fair to say, North.
Yep. Yeah, they had like 3 players out.
Yeah, that was. I would watch the first half of that as well. They were completely blown off the park. They've taken a big step backwards on the weekend. And there's so much expectation. They've been given time. Clarko thinks in his 3rd year, and to dish up that's heartbreaking for North Melbourne supporters. And that's going to take something to turn around in a hurry, because they were completely dominated by a Swan side that, as we said, far from at full strength. But their play. Riley Bice, just given what he has done. You talk about great journeys in footy.
Yeah.
This young bloke, this guy who hasn't been just gifted a smooth passage, for him to be close to best on ground.
Yeah, 26 disposals, 15 marks. He's done all right.
Great performance.
So the big one out of here probably was off the back of interviews at the airport, spending some time in Western Australia. Chad Warner was subbed out of the game at 3/4 time after having just 10 disposals. Anything to read into that? Or nothing to say here?
Unless they're saying tactical, I'm guessing.
Yeah, it was tactical.
Yeah, that does seem strange. No, I don't think it's anything. Coxie wouldn't be. No, I think that's unusual, the fact that he's had such low output. I don't think he's ever been subbed out of a game in the last, since he's established himself as a fully fledged footballer. That's weird. St
Kilda defeat Port Adelaide by 17 points at Adelaide Oval. This is probably the upset of the round, Skeet. Anyone who got 8 would have picked this, of course. But 3 wins in a row for the Saints. Is this the side that no one expected to do anything this year that can actually play games of footy? I think Port Adelaide are poor, by the way. But St Kilda, Port Adelaide could lose the next 7. I've looked at their schedule. It's absolute pooperama. St Kilda, are they the real deal or not?
No, they're not the real deal. Okay. But 44 inside entries, and they win the game by 17 points, kicking 13 goals. That's efficiency.
Means they're going quick, though. It means they're getting it in there with an open forward line.
Yeah, and they led by, I think they had a 5-goal lead early in the game. And when we say the Saints thought they'd really struggle early in the season because they had so many out, but got to give full credit to Ross Lyon as a coach. He manages to find a way to have his side competitive, and he's got a bit of quality there, including
Sinclair's a gun.
Sinclair, Wanganeen Miller is a superstar. 25-1 from him. They are the 2 guys that really stand out.
Jack McRae's got to be recruit of the year, doesn't he?
So far, he'll always get his, what did he finish with? 28, so 30 a game. But that's him. Yeah, I think Ross is trying to get that play on quick style, which works really well at Marvel, and Port Adelaide, conversely, we said last week, I called their game against Essendon. They're not playing finals in my mind. They are just a team, and we did forecast this, I think, early in the year, about February, Scully, where some clubs, and they've been near the top of the mountain for a while, the drop-off, when it comes, can be really quick. I think that's what we're going to see this year for Port.
So they're not contending. Why wouldn't you just hand the reins to Josh Carr? If they're not going to contend, which it doesn't look like they are, what's the point of having a year of handover?
Yeah, well, that's for them to decide. If they do an about-face, so be it. But, yeah, there's something missing from that Port side, and whether it's to do with the coaching setup or not, whether it's just the fact that this group's given a fair bit like the Dockers, when they got to that point under Ross, contending, get beaten a preliminary final by Hawthorn, and then out we go.
Shelter Brewing Co. Beer fresh from the Busselton foreshore. Skeeter, time for some questions and comments from our crowd and our audience. We like you being here. We love it. In fact, if you want to get in touch, make sure you chuck a comment on socials, Shelter FootyCast, or you chuck a comment in below of the YouTube channel, or send us an email, footycast@backchatstudios.com.au. This is from Trevor. Skeeter, any TV recommendations from this century, please? What were you recommending? Was it Cheech and Chong, or what were you doing? No, it was
it might have been
Dumb and Dumber. No.
You
and I.
It's Happy Days.
No. It was like The Old and the Restless.
Oh, The Odd Couple.
The Odd Couple.
Yeah, Odd Couple. No, what's the bloke's name?
I don't know.
Well, the guy's
Trevor.
Trevor doesn't sound like a young name, so surely he's. Well, how many young Trevors do you know?
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Trev. Hey, Trev.
What's the TV? So maths is your recommendation?
No, it's not. No,
Well,
no.
mate, I had from good source that is your favourite.
No,
TV
it's not my
show.
favourite TV show. But I sit down. We have my wife, the daughters. My wife gives commentary on how putrid some of the people are.
Well, so what other TV shows do you watch? I don't think you have enough time to watch any. So I would say I would put it to you.
No, I watch.
Say that's your favourite.
No. So I watch some Netflix stuff. Actually, I watch a bit of some of the docos I really like. Yeah, no, I'm not completely just. In fact, you know what? I don't watch any footy shows. I've just
No, not footy. I don't worry about footy.
no, but I don't watch maths. I watch with the family. And the dog sits down. We
So
sit
you
there,
hate maths.
No, we sit there. and We have a laugh.
So you love maths.
I don't love maths. I don't like you or love you either. I tolerate you.
I tolerate.
Yeah, so The Odd Couple. Anyway, Trev, have a look at it. It's about from 1975.
I knew the MRO and tribunal system was broken when Nick Nat copped a ban for failing to calculate the weight differential,
Oh, yes.
wind speed and units of force before tackling
The
someone.
Port Adelaide player at Optus. I'm trying to think of the player's name, but
He
yeah,
was
did the boundary
pulverised. He
line.
could still be there.
He would have been playing that. I mean, if you remember the boundary line, he pole drove him into the
But
ground.
The point off that is me going on about the way that we see legalities brought into it, and you got two lawyers go head to head. Like, I remember that decision saying that, Nick Natanui's weight differential was that far gone that he should have
Being
shown
more diligent in his
joke.
duty of care as he tackles the player to ground. That's the Tribunal. Yeah, that's just the stuff that would really irk you.
High Score Creative on YouTube. I haven't read any of these, of course. No preparation from my end. So after round one, the Eagles had to play in crazy conditions in Brisbane, then against Freo at home, then 2 weeks in a row away. So only one legitimate home ground advantage in 5 weeks. How good. I've got to be honest, High Score Creative. I'm not sure it matters where you'd be playing, my friend. BK Cans. This looks like it's coming at me, which I always enjoy. Anybody who has done one training session knows that Ryan Mansell had decided what he is going to do 15 metres before the ball gets to them. It's maybe not 15 metres, but what I'm saying, what do you mean, 15 metres or not? It's maybe not 15 metres, but what I'm saying is anybody who has played the game knows you can't attack the contested ball frame by frame. That's how you get hurt. We were told contested ball is like an intersection. Once you decide to go, you go, because if you think too much about it, that's when you get hurt. I'm going on a bit of a path here. It's just mind-boggling. The AFL House thinks, oh, you're with me. Thank you, BK Cans. The AFL House
find out
thinks players can stop on the spot, turn their head 360 degrees, make sure no one could possibly get hurt, and then only then decide what's the safest option. Unfortunately, that's just not football. Well done, BK Cans. I agree with you. Because that's the same with Toby Grant. He was sprinting to help his defenders get back in the lane.
You talking about the Owies incident yesterday? Is that what you're talking about?
Toby Green.
Yeah, Toby Green was yesterday.
Yeah. So
when Owies was
made his decision 50 metres beforehand, and he's pelting his guts back to get in. And at the finite last second, he goes, I'm not going to quite get the spoiled turns. And he's about to get cleaned up, so covers up, and Owies gets flipped around.
By the way, Owies didn't get assessed medically. Or more thoroughly, should I say. At least he may well have been, but it didn't appear to be anything that needed a... Well, surely we go and check this guy with his... I
loaded up a tweet, Skeeter. I loaded it up and then I thought, I can't actually be bothered, like West Coast, whatever. How he was not taken off the ground. He was folded in half, landed on his skull, was holding his head.
For 20 seconds he was on the ground.
Clearly stumbling around. Yeah. Doctor was out there, and then he took his kick. And it's not the commentator's fault, but what I was watching was, he's been able to shake it off. You can't shake off a concussion. Doesn't do that.
He might not have been concussed, but I think it deserved an examination greater than how you're feeling. And he was keen to get up and play again, but he was on the ground too long for it not to be taken further.
That's the point, Skate. Players all want to play. Like that, you need to save them from their own. So if we're going to take this seriously, otherwise, just do what we've always been doing, and the player gets to make the call. Don't even send the doctors out to him. Right? You either have one or the other. You can't have in between, because in between it's inconsistent and people like you and me get pissed off.
Players would walk around like drunken sailors. Seriously, they would be.
Skeet, that's us, mate.
Well, it's been nice knowing you. I know you're going to the City of Churches.
I'm going to Gather Round.
Yeah.
And you will be here with Hamish Brayshaw on Thursday.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Hammer just being...
You might have to run things, though.
Yeah.
You might have to run this shelter ship. Can you do that?
Yeah, that's a good question. I'll have to find a laptop and the issues of the week, which I'm sure we can come up with. Hammer and I will be able to negotiate our way through.
I'll get this laptop for you. Well, you don't need this laptop. I'll get the document for you, and we'll put it in front of you, and you see if you can talk and read at the same time. I'm sure you'll be fine.
Yeah, we'll be fine. Hammer talks enough pupperama for us to survive and chat without you. What will you be doing? Are you doing work over there, or are you just a social soiree?
Well, regardless of what the answer,
like an event.
Yeah, well, regardless of what my answer is here, Skate, I've paid for myself, so I will do as I please. I can work, I can have beers, I can do as I like, because no one's got me over there yet. If there are any sponsors who want to send us to gather around, it's not too late. Skater, I'm working and I'm socialising. Is that okay with you?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I just think if, with a wife and kids here, you might want to stick around for a bit.
If you'd like to hear any more relationship advice from Mark Reading, stay tuned for next week. We'll see you Thursday.
See you then.